with exactly 139 days to Nigeria's presidential election, the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, says it is committed to supporting the country in holding a poll that is credible, transparent, and inclusive. This comes following a series of nationwide capacity-building training organized by the UN body for staff members of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. The agency's team leader, Governance, Peace and Security, Matthew Alao, said UNDP collaborated with INEC's Election Monitoring Support Center to train its head of departments in the South and Southeast for the successful conduct of the elections. The 2023 elections will be Nigeria's 7th consecutive general election, and a lot of people are already predicting this will be the most challenging.
Well, maybe they are looking at the noise in the market. It's expected, you know, when you enter into a market, the uproar, the noise you hear will tell you something about how filled up or how less attended the market is. I think for those who think it will be challenging, yes, it will be challenging. For those who think it will not be challenging, they will have their reasons. But one thing I am sure of that I want to happen is that it should be, whether it's challenging or not, it should be free, fair, and credible. And to have a free, fair, and credible election, all stakeholders, all gladiators must agree to the fact that we want to do an election, and not we are not about to take over via Togri and other things. It's democracy. We have agreed, the day we agreed to be guided by our constitution, that we will allow the people to choose their leaders. So if that is what we have agreed to, then it's time for election. We should allow the people to vote. So if you look at what agencies like local and international agencies like UNDP are doing, it is tailored towards ensuring that we have a credible election. We have an election we will all be proud of. And it is something commendable. It is what I have been reading before now, that UNDP and other agencies are helping to train members of staff of our electoral body, that's INEC. It is good. It is not only for them to be trained. The members of staff should also know that a lot depends on them for the election to be acceptable, because after an election, the reaction of the people tells you a lot. If it is fair, if it is credible, winners will easily rejoice, losers will easily accept the outcome of the election. But when an election is flawed, it creates controversies and brings uncertainties. So we should commend UNDP for what it is doing, but we should talk to those concerned about our election, INEC members of staff, security men, the politicians themselves, and then we, the people. Because no matter how well planned our election is, the candidate will work well, this will do, we have the men ready to, they are not going to be allowed, accept bribe, they will not allow themselves to be used. If we, the people, go out on election day with a mind to sell our votes, when you take your votes to the polling unit with a mind to look for the highest bidder, the election is already flawed, because vote buying will not thrive if there is no vote selling. Mm-hmm. It is we, the sellers. I say we now because it is we, the people, the electorate. We have our votes. We know it determines the next 4 years for us. Then we go to the polling unit. We after accreditation, you see people staying in groups, waiting for those who will come and negotiate with them. And where they don't find people coming to negotiate, they go all out to ask questions. How much is this party paying? How much are these ones paying? Then we start doing comparative analysis of who to sell our votes to. It will only create a process that we all will not be proud of. And when we have that on our hand, how acceptable will the result of such a process be? While INEC and the court can only act on those things that they can pinpoint as flaws, how do we attack or redress the issue of vote selling? This is something we all see happen. Every election day we see it with our eyes. It's happening. But is there a provision yet in our laws to take care of this issue, I think, to the best of my knowledge, no. And that is a real worry. In spite of what other people, other stakeholders do, if we cannot stop vote buying and vote selling, we still have a long way to go.
Biko, INEC seems to have secured public trust when it comes to our electoral process. But Dario here says that it is more than just getting trained.
Yes, you can train people, they can have the know-how, yet they can be compromised. To train someone is one thing. For the person to apply himself properly, it's a different kettle of fish. We need our elections to be credible, to be transparent, and to reflect the wish of our people, the collective wish of our people. Why do we need our elections to be credible? Why do we need our elections to be free from manipulation by politicians? Because politicians do not feel indebted to you and I once they know that they can rig their way into office. When politicians realize that if they fail to work for the people have the power in their votes to kick them out of office, they will begin to work for us. They will begin to sacrifice for us. We have not reached that point. Elections are still easily manipulated in our country. Because even the idea of vote buying is manipulation. That's why when I see all the surveys being done, I ask myself, all these surveys, did you bear in mind certain variables? Ethnicity, religion, even pecuniary benefits that get shared on election day. We've seen politicians share bales of cotton, or what they call yadi. That is like 6 yards of cotton, you know, Ankara and the rest to people. You've seen some give a miserable quantity of gari to people. When we give politicians our votes in exchange for little bags of gari, 5 kg bags of gari, rice, we are oiling our shackles. You know what it means to oil your shackles? It means you are happy to be in slavery, where you put oil around your manacles or your chain. You are saying, well, let the chain remain as long as something mitigates the pain that it inflicts on me. So that's what it means to oil one's shackle. A person who is oiling his shackle is happy to remain in bondage. But that's not what we want to see. We must let the politician realize that, look, the power to remove him from office lies in our hands. When our elections become more and more credible, you won't hear about court cases anymore. How many times do people go to court in the UK over an election? Because the election will be seen to be transparent. And there's internal democracy within the parties. So once you emerge, everyone knows that you emerge because you deserve to emerge. If you win an election, everyone knows that you won because you deserve to win. So no one will go and be disturbing judges. Judges will focus on civil cases, not electoral. As we speak, even the presidential candidates in the next election, they have all kinds of litigations against them. All kinds of the candidate of the APC just won one against the PDP the other day over so-called what do they call them again? The Nigerians, a kind of surrogate candidature. But when you replace someone that you initially chose as your deputy or vice presidential candidate, that's a surrogate candidature. But Nigerians call it placeholder, you know. it has just recently been introduced to our politics, you know. The point that I'm making is, I want to see that day when every election held in our country, no one will raise an eyebrow, because they know that the process is transparent and is not subject to manipulation. The sort of manipulation we see. All kinds of manipulation. Even sometimes policemen are used to rig elections. Soldiers are used to rig elections. We don't see this in those other climes that they don't like it when we talk about them. When we talk about climes that are better than ours, I mean, in the last 1 year, up to 9,000 people have been killed in our country. You ask yourself, what's going on? So, we want to see an election that is transparent, and if we continue to improve our electoral processes, it will deliver the right leaders, not people who impose themselves on us because, look, there's nothing we can do. It will deliver the right leaders. Governance will improve. The people will believe more in the system. And the people elected will also feel responsible to the people. And they will do their best for the people, because no one wants to be disgraced out of office. No one wants to be kicked out of office. They will want to give their best. We are seeing such elections in Botswana, small country. If an election is held, they know that, look, is the winner, is the person who deserves to win that has won. In the world's biggest democracy is India. If they do an election today, within 48 hours, they know who has won. As big as the country is, they know who has won. You cannot rig it. It's both electronic and manual, yet you cannot rig it. So that's what we want to see.
All right, Dari, let me have your final take on this.
Yeah, well, Charles said, what we want to see is an election that is credible, because it is a credible election that will give us the right kind of leaders. And when you have leaders who are truly elected by the people, who get into office via the votes of the people, and who have expectations that I intend to do this time, serve these people, and be given another opportunity, the dividends of democracy will come. Because they are sure that the people will only have to bear you for 4 years. If you turn out to be a disappointment, for 4 years they will manage you, and on election day, the next election day, they kick you out with their votes. So when we have a scenario where the politicians are told in clear terms that, don't worry, continue to do what you are doing, you will begin to see changes. Properly. Then the politicians will fear that day. It will become some sort of judgment day. But today in Nigeria, election day is just some form of a day where we go to test our wits, wits and might, not the vote of the people. So I believe that we are inching closer to what our election should look at gradually. We may be slow in movement, but we'll definitely get there. And when we get there, we'll begin to see better days in our democracy.
Thank you.